After 3 days of stunning projects, it is time for us to dive into day 4. We are going to be doing some color mixing before we get started with our painting. For this day, we are going to be using colors that we've mixed before, but I just wanted to go over them again since it's a new day and a fresh start. So, the first color we're mixing is orange. For orange, we will be using 2 parts of yellow and a little bit of red. I like to add red a little by little to make sure that I get the color that I'm looking for. That way I don't end up with something too bright or too red. Now the next color that I'm mixing is eggplant. It's a color that I use very often. It is red with a little bit of blue. Sorry, actually it's a lot of blue and a little bit of red. Keep adding blue till you're happy with the deep depth of this color. Finally, we will be mixing forest, which is 2 parts of blue and 1 part of yellow. These 3 colors work very well with each other, and that's why I have chosen them for this painting. And accordingly, once you have them ready in enough quantity, let's get started. Start by taking up your A5 sheet, and for this we're gonna start with a center of focal big flower. The flower that we're going to do today is going to be red color, so it's going to be bright and it's going to have a lot of emphasis. For starters, let's do the center of the flower. I'm using my round brush size 4 to paint out a very textured center. For the center, I'm using orange color, and you can see how I'm doing very haphazard doodly lines, and that is the effect I wanted to go for the center. Unlike previous projects where I have done dots to give texture, this is gonna give texture but in a very different look. Now filling up my brush with water, adding red to it, and using that to add dots around my paper. So that way we have this beautiful red. Now red is a color that's very vibrant, so even a little goes a long way. So I started by using a clear, clean water brush which doesn't have a lot of paint in it, just clear water. And now I'm dragging the paint from the center to create my petals. Again, taking clear water and dragging the paint from the center, that orange color, and painting out my petals. In this case, I'm making very big, bold petals. It's not going to be very easy to control your petals because it's hard to control where the water goes and how that color is going to spread. And that's okay because in the next steps, we will kind of focus and just make sure our flower looks beautiful. So this is the place where it is going to look haphazard. It may not look perfect, and that's okay. Add some quick thin lines around your petals to give it a more artistic look. Now while the petal is still wet, I'm adding orange to the edges of the petals. This orange is gonna give it a blend of colors and it's gonna make the entire flower look really interesting. So just add that orange along the edge. Now on the top of this bold red flower, let's add a half flower with our eggplant. As we did before, a half flower is basically adding petals in the form of a semicircle. So you can see how I'm doing this. I'm just adding quick lines, adding some heart-shaped petals to form a semicircle. I don't do it all around. I hope that helps you understand it a little bit better. So I'm doing another one here. Again, you can see how it's just a semicircle and that forms a half flower. Also gonna add some circles to represent buds. This looks quite empty, so I'm gonna add another one, another half flower to the left. Basically, again, another semicircle towards the left. Once I'm happy with the overall look, let's go ahead, wash our brush using our detailer thin brush. We can take some green and then use it to add in our stem and leaves. Now this is done while the painting is still wet, so you have this beautiful green that spreads through the piece. So the flowers have this beautiful green that blends through. We don't want too much of it happening, just a little bit. And the way to control it is to make sure that you don't add the green everywhere. It's just leaving spaces of it. Now, as it is drying, let's go ahead and paint out some leaves. I'm starting with smaller leaves at the top. Remember, we spoke about this before. So making sure you have some small leaves at the top, and as you go lower near the center or near the big flower, you can do much more bigger leaves. I absolutely love how this has turned out. And this is a good place to stop if this was just a simple artwork. But here we're drawing a painting, so let's fill it up. Now using eggplant, I'm doing a very broken up center circle. I've kept some of them very close and one that's a little bit further away. There is no fixed way to place your circles. Now using yellow, I'm gonna add some long petals. I'm being a little bit careful to make sure that my yellow doesn't touch that center circle, because if it does, it's going to blend. And that eggplant color is quite bold. So if it touches too much, it's going to spread a lot. And we don't want too much of that happening. So I'm going to keep a little bit of a distance, or if it does touch, you can see how I'm just touching just a small tip, so it's enough but not too much, or it doesn't take up too much. In case too much of color spreads, remember to wash your brush, use a dry brush, and lift up the paint immediately. Going ahead and adding yellow to all the circles that we did, making sure to keep a little bit of gap between that center and the center circle, or if it is touching, to make sure that it's very small so that it doesn't blend through too much. We want this beautiful bright yellow to show through. Now that we have completed our flowers, this is our final step. Pretty much, we have some splatters to do, but before that, let us add some leaves. Right now, if you see, the painting looks very abstract. There's no specific placement as such. So what we're going to do is take this as an opportunity to fill up the center, the spaces that are in the middle, just to fill them up. So when someone looks at the painting, they know where to see, and it just looks so much more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm adding some big bold leaves in different directions. I always make sure that the start of the leaf is connected to a flower and the tip of the leaf moves away. Before I forget, we have one final step to go. I completely missed this out. This is painting out the center of the flower just giving it a little bit more dimension. So using yellow, I'm gonna be adding those outlines. The yellow can give a little bit more of a subtle effect so that it doesn't take away too much from the painting. It doesn't bring too much of that red out, but it's a beautiful color and it's great for outlining, giving the flower a much more subtle look. I think I used the word subtle multiple times, but I don't know how else to describe this. It is a subtle look. For a much more bold look, you can choose red instead, or even a mulberry color to really brighten up the flower. Now that we've completed 4 stunning paintings, I can't wait to hear which is your favorite project till now. Leave them below in the comment section.